everyone, welcome back to the House of Yoga podcast presented by Yama Yoga. My name is Gavi, I'm your host and founder, and today we are joined by a very special guest, a mindset and confidence coach who spends his time traveling the world giving TEDx talks, leading workshops and men's retreats, and today we're going to be talking about some of your issues that you've sent in on Instagram and kind of having a little coaching session as well. So Brian, welcome onto the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling really good. Still a little jet lag. I flew in from New York a couple days ago.
Okay.
But otherwise, I'm feeling great.
Great. Before we start the meditation, which we start every episode with, I actually just want to know, why are you in India? How did you get here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I heard there was a really good dosa, so I thought I'd come over here. That's a longer conversation, but I started a wellness company with a friend that I've known for years out here, and we started that about 2 years ago, and she leads more on like breathwork and sound healing and yoga philosophy for leadership, and I do more the mindset, confidence, leadership, executive training. Okay. And we decided just to bridge together and start this company. So I'm always coming in and out of India for the last 2 years.
Awesome. What's the company called?
It's called Svya.
Lovely. Okay, great. But before we start, let's do a meditation just to ground ourselves and for you guys also to listen from a more grounded and calm space. So if you're able to, if it's safe to do so, just close your eyes and relax your bodies. You can take a moment just to settle in by letting your body ground into the surface underneath you. Let your feet and your legs relax. And just notice your spine. Can you sit upright to allow the most amount of breath to flow in and out of your body with ease? Notice your shoulders. Let's just roll them back, keep them open up the chest for receiving. Keep the hands open as well, maybe resting them on the knees, however you like. And as today's episode is going to be about mindset and confidence, I'd love for us to focus on our solar plexus chakra, the Manipura chakra. This is located just underneath your chest, by your rib cage. Each chakra is associated with a color. So this energy point is orange. And I just want us to think about that area. Maybe you can even place your hand there. Picturing the color orange, and if you find it hard to do so, maybe just think of some things that you know that are orange. We're going to take a deep breath into this area and a big breath out. Deep breath in and release. One more time, this time inhaling as much as you can. Inhale, 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 more. And release, let it go. So as I said, this chakra is associated with our confidence. It can be imbalanced by feeling too much shame, guilt, doubt in ourselves. Just have a think for a moment. How does this resonate with you? So that we can go into today's episode with curiosity, to learn about confidence, about mindset, but see how it specifically relates to you. You can remove your hand, back onto your knees. Bring your hands together and just rub them. Gently press your hands over your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. Bring your hands together. And if you need to take an extra moment to pause before opening your eyes, do so. In other ways, you can open your eyes. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you feeling now?
Doing great.
Great. So yeah, we touched a little bit on your journey. What exactly is a mindset and confidence coach?
Nobody knows. So I tend to work with high achievers. I work with entrepreneurs, creatives, professionals, people that they know they're capable of doing more. That could be in terms of their career. It could be in terms of relationships, how they're showing up in life. There's something that's sort of holding them back from going in on what they want. And it's about identifying what that is for them, right? What are the hidden blind spots that maybe they're not aware of, bringing those blind spots to life, and then helping them come up with a strategy and the tools to actually take action and create what they want.
Yeah. What would you say are the biggest blind spots that you most commonly experience?
There's so many. Fear of failure is a huge one. Fear of judgment, what people say, what are they going to think?
Yeah.
Procrastination. And there's elements of confidence, of identity, of people trying to step into things that maybe feel a little foreign or feel different to them. And all of this sort of comes down to stories. And stories that we tell ourselves that keep us from playing small and keep us from taking the action that we want, whether that's in the career, whether that's in the relationships, or just how we show up.
Yeah.
But stories is such a huge part of it.
Yeah. And how much are those stories based on what other people have told us versus our internal beliefs?
It can be a mix. It can be a mix depending on the person. And it's like, I always talk to people and they'll be like, yeah, well, I've been doing a lot of chat GBTing.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, how's that going? Right? How's that? Because I do too. And it can be a great tool. It can be useful to give a little bit of awareness, but awareness is only step one. Right? We all have awareness. We're not actually, that's not true. Most of the time we have some awareness that we want to change or something's wrong, but we don't always have the awareness of what is causing it.
Yeah.
But even if we do have the awareness of what's causing it, that's not enough, right? Like for me personally, I used to be obese. I was 300 pounds. I was on medication. I was working in New York City at Yelp as an account executive. I was pretty stressed out. And it wasn't like someone came to me and they're like, hey, Brian, did you know that if you worked out and you ate healthier, that you would lose weight? And I was like, that's the secret? Oh my God, guys, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. Like, no, I knew that, but just knowing that wasn't enough for me to change. Right? I had to get clear on what those deeper reasons were. And for me, that I went on this whole entire journey because at that state, I ended up getting diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. I was working as an account executive. I was stressed out. I was living a life that on paper looked really great, but something was missing. And I didn't quite know what that was. And that took me on this 5-year journey. I ended up quitting my job. I ended up moving out to Asia, teaching English in Vietnam, which turned into teaching improv comedy and doing corporate training, and then organizing TEDx events out in Vietnam. And all of that came from this curiosity of like, okay, what if I had this yes and mindset? Right? What if I had this yes and just started saying yes to opportunities? And that took me on this crazy journey. I ended up hosting a travel show for the Vietnamese government. I was out in the jungle doing all this crazy stuff. And it was great for growth, but it was really in this period where I started working with coaches myself. So I started doing different programs, doing silent retreats, working with therapists, coaches, somatic healers, really just trying to figure out what is it that I want? What is it that's holding me back? I ended up losing 60 pounds, getting clear on what I wanted to do, and it started shaping me as a coach, just seeing how powerful these different tools are and these different modalities. And people always ask, so like they hear that story and they go, got it. So I just have to say yes to more things. And I'm always like, hang on, because, and maybe you've experienced this, right? Have you ever gone to a bookstore and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go, maybe it's January and you're like, I'm gonna do something different this year. So you go to the self-help section and you see the book, you see like the power of yes. How saying yes is gonna give you everything you want. And you're like, Brian said that story, power of yes, I need this book. And you go to grab the book And then what do you see on the right? The power of no. How having boundaries will actually give you what you want, and saying no. And you're like, well, which is it? Is it yes or is it no? And then you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And what it comes down to is it really depends on your situation. I think this is where like ChatGPT or self-help books can sometimes fall flat. It's not that the book is bad in any way. It's that your situation is your situation. And in some moments you may need to say yes more, and some you may need to say no more. And a lot of what we do in coaching is trying to figure out where you are on that sort of that spectrum. Are you in the more, I need to say yes, I need to say no, and what's stopping you in doing that? And so I think it really comes down to, it's such an individual thing on where you're at, but figuring out where you're at, which direction you need to go. Because if you go in the wrong direction, you're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
Right. Just saying yes to everything when you need to say no, you're going to start getting burnout. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to start showing up to things you don't want to do potentially.
Yeah.
And on the same token, like you want to be pushing yourself in your comfort zone at certain times. You don't always not like 100% of the time be pushing your comfort zones. You're going to also get burned out.
Yeah.
So it's about knowing where you're at in that.
Yeah. Finding your own boundaries and discovering where you actually need to push yourself instead of, hide away and be in a comfort zone. And what about you? What do you think is the biggest block in your life? Do you ever have times where you're not motivated, and how do you get yourself out of that?
100%. Yeah. In terms of when I'm like feeling unmotivated, and I'll catch myself, and then I'm like, okay, I'm feeling really unmotivated. Well, what's going on? So I'll start coaching myself. And I also have a coach that I work with too, because I have my own blind spots. And being a coach, and maybe you can relate to this in some capacity, is like, we almost can know too much. And so we can look at things from a million different perspectives, and then we can get sort of lost in the analytical. And when I do find myself, if I'm feeling unmotivated, I'll see what is the cause of that. Have I been doing too much? Right? Like last month, I led 5 workshops in New York City, men's retreat, brought on 5 new clients, also training in this new division for this company I work for. So I was doing a lot. And towards the end of the month, I was like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm hitting that edge. I'm about to push over that edge, right? So that's like, okay, let me pull back. And then what does that look like? So the first week back here, I literally got a massage every other day. I've been doing breath work every single morning, and then just taking really slow mornings just to ground my nervous system.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different tools that I'll use. Some is breath work. Some will be things like EFT tapping that I'll do to try to help me get out of those states. Because it's really easy. Like, just because I'm a mindset coach doesn't mean like I'm waking up at 4 a.m. and doing all that stuff, right? I'm actually against the 4 a.m. For me personally. It might work great for some of my clients, but I like to have slow mornings.
So do I.
Yeah. And when I was in New York, I didn't have that. I was up at like 6 excited client calls at 8 a.m. And I was like, kind of miss being out in that time zone when I have the slow mornings and I work in the afternoons. I like that. But yeah, just sort of working with my own nervous system. And I'll do things that can be a little extreme to the average person. I'll go on like a silent meditation retreat. I'm looking at doing that again right now. I've done about 7 of them. And you don't need to do that. So someone's like, I need to go, and depends where you're at, right? Yeah. But for me, those work really well. But using the tools and the strategies that I teach my clients on a daily basis is what keeps me in rhythm.
Yeah.
The times when I do feel unmotivated or I start to procrastinate, it's because I fall out from using some of those tools. And the difference is that I catch myself.
Right.
And then I have the frameworks, the tools and strategies to get back on track. So it's not that I'm some like perfect person, not at all. Yeah. It's just that I have the tools and strategies to get myself back on track when I have to fall off.
Yeah. And I think that's really similar to me and probably other like freelancers or coaches, whatever kind of field you're in where you're giving a service to a client, that you do need to practice those things yourself. But what we're trying to give our clients in the long run is to be able to do that themselves as well.
Yeah, there's some clients that are like that. And then there's other clients where it's not like that, where it's like when I work with like high level executives and CEOs, a reason some of my clients I've been with for years, and it's not that I'm teaching new tools every time, it's that I become a thinking partner for them.
Yeah.
When you're someone who is a top level CEO and executive, you can't show up to the board meeting and be like, guys, I don't know what to do. I'm feeling overwhelmed. You won't be CEO for long, right? You have to be strong and be a leader. But where do you go to be vulnerable? Where do you go to express all the muck that you're thinking about?
Yeah.
And that's a lot what I'm doing with my coaching sessions. I work with top level people at Fortune 500 companies. And a lot of them is having them come and creating a space where they can be vulnerable, where they can share all this stuff and I can go deep and coach them on it.
Yeah.
And coaching is, people sometimes think coaching is just giving advice. I give like 10%, maybe 5% of my coaching is advice giving. What coaching is, it's really sitting with someone and you're asking them questions, right? And you're getting them to a level to think about things that they've never thought about.
Right.
And then another big thing that I'm doing is I'm listening to what you're not saying. What you're saying is only part of the equation. What you're not saying is even more interesting. When I ask you this, why are you not talking? That's what I'm thinking. Why did you not answer in this way?
Right.
And then I'll ask a question about what's unspoken. And people will always comment sometimes. They'll be like, how did we end up here? Like, this is exactly where I need to go. But how did we how did you get there? Like, it's amazing. And it's like, well, I'm listening. I'm listening to what you're saying, what you're not saying.
Yeah.
And so for some people, it's not about being in coaching forever, but for other people, like there's different levels.
Yeah.
I have a client I've been working with for years. When we started off, he was having a lot of imposter syndrome. He was a lot of trying to he was shifting careers into this new career. He hadn't made any money, and it was a freelancer as well, entrepreneur, getting into the real estate sector. And when we started, it was a lot about the self-belief and having him really see what's possible, and then coming up with game plans to actually create that life. And we were able to do that. We worked together for the first year. He got to the point where he was selling houses and he was going to presents and he was feeling good and he felt good. And then the container was sort of complete. And then he messaged me a year later. He's like, let's get back on. Like, I want to go to it again. And we've been working together for the last year now, getting him to that next level. Right. Because it's like new level, new devil. Yeah. Right. And my always thing is if you don't have problems, then your goals aren't good enough. You need to have problems. As humans, we are going to have problems. We solve problems, right? Yeah. The goal, though, is not to get rid of your problems. You might be listening to this, you might be like, the goal is not to get rid of my problems. Oh, I'm out. Hang on, right? The goal is to get better problems. You starting a business, or you being as a leader and you're worried your company is sinking and you're worried the board is going to maybe fire you, that's a really bad problem. But you expanding so fast that you now need to hire more people or more managers to help manage that growth, great problem to have. Yeah. Still a problem. Right? So the goal is to get better problems in our life. So that's how I always sort of tell people.
I love that. Yeah, that's a really nice way of putting it, because I think a lot of people are just in this solve mentality all the time. Like, how can I eliminate this thing? And then I'm fine. And they have that destination anxiety of like, when I have this, then this is sorted, blah, blah, blah. But actually, like, we can expand ourselves and our visions to having and wanting more, and then dealing with other things that come up. And it's fine to have that as well, right? Yeah. So both of us have worked with one of the same clients. And I think that we have different approaches by the sounds of it. By the sounds of it, you're more intentional in the terms that you are very clear in pointing out, okay, this is what's up. This is like what I hear you're avoiding talking about. Whereas I feel like I go with this more like soft approach, like, I hear you, this is fine, accept this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying you don't do that, but I just think it's very different. But one thing that ties us together is that we both really focus on the nervous system and how this affects us somatically. So I'd love to hear about how you do that and why is it important to deal with things from a regulated nervous system?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. And yeah, we do have different approaches, and both approaches will be applicable depending on what the client's going through, right? Because I do both of this. I do all these silent stillness, and then I'm also a very intense kind of energy as well that I can bring. Mindset's half the equation. The other half is your nervous system, right? If you might, like I had this with a client where a different client where I uncovered sort of, they were trying to start something. They kept procrastinating on everything they wanted to do. They're working, they already had a great job, but it wasn't in alignment. They wanted to start this other project, but all these stories kept coming up. And so we kind of figured out what they really want, what's holding them back, how to actually go after it, but they still kept on procrastinating. And this is where the nervous system comes in, because your nervous system can be overwhelmed and it's like, can feel like an attack and and you can freeze, right? Fight or flight kind of response when we're procrastinating. And so working with the nervous system, if you want to definitely get in a calm state, if it's something that you're procrastinating, right?
Can I ask you, why do you think we've gone that way? Like, why are people now scared to ask for help? Like, what is that issue with pride?
It will vary from person to person, but it can be for pride. I mean, are you going to ask your friends for help? Sometimes you do. Sometimes you can be like, you have that friend that's close, but people are judging you. Yeah. Right. When you meet with a friend, or like, you're not going to go to your boss and be like, I feel like I'm really not good at my job, and like, I'm probably going to mess up. What are your thoughts? Your boss will be like, you're the head of risk management. What do you mean you're right? Like so you don't have a safe place where you can even express or explore that, right? And when do we actually explore these things? Most of us are on our phones. I was driving over here. There's an Uber driver who was driving and he was doom scrolling as he was driving. And you see this a lot, right? We're not in boredom, right? It's very rare. Maybe you are, but a lot of people aren't in boredom. They don't sit with themselves. They don't sit with their thoughts. They're not journaling. And if they're journaling, a lot of times when I see people like, oh, I journal, I read all the books, yet they're still exactly the same. Nothing's really changed. I mean, you might know people like this, even though they're doing all the things, right? And it's like, well, are you journaling and just repeating the same story, right? Poor me, or this is why I'm stuck, or more. It sounds more empowering. Maybe like, I don't need anyone else. Screw that. Screw society. I'm going to show them. And you're just repeating the same thing over and over again, then reinforcing that belief, whether it's negative or positive. You just end up reinforcing that. And are you exploring it from a different perspective as well, from a different angle? You know, it doesn't mean that perspective is correct. You're just looking at it. There's an exercise I do with clients, especially when there's conflict, when there's, especially in leadership roles and boardrooms, where I'll have someone literally like look at the situation from the other person's perspective. And sometimes I'll role play. And this is where a lot of my improv training, which was before I was a coach, actually will kind of come back in. Not so much in terms of comedy, but in terms of role playing. I'll be like, someone's having a disagreement with their manager. Yeah. And I'll be like, great, I want you to be the manager and I'm going to be you. They're like, what? And I was like, be the manager, how they feel. And then I'll be you. And then they'll be like, and then we'll start role playing from that. And then from that, they'll get okay, I understand why he was doing this. Versus before, it's come from ego, pride, all these sort of things. And like, so it varies from person why we do that. But asking for help, it's very vulnerable, right? You have to put yourself out there. You have to worry that someone might judge you. And like, it goes back to like, you know, there's part of the brain, there's the prefrontal cortex, which is the newer part of our brain, right? And then you have the old sort of lizard brain. You've probably heard this in some capacity. Well, what does being rejected mean if you go back 50,000 years, or even parts of the world now still? What does being rejected mean by your family, right? If you are, your family is very religious, or if your family is all you see this a lot in India, they'll have some sort of a business. And you're like, I'm not going to do the family business. I'm going to do something else, right? And then you're almost rejecting your family. And then that creates so much conflict, right? And what happens? They might kick you out of the house. They might be like, well, if you don't want to be part of the business, you can't live here, right? It can be very intense in these situations. So it's like, there's that actual fear of being kicked out of the tribe, if you will, that stems from so long in the past. And even presently, being kicked out of the tribe, or your friends not accepting you. This can happen a lot when I talk to people that like are in friend groups that party a lot, and they go out drinking all the time. And then they're like, I'm just so sick of drinking. I want to do something else. And when they start being that guy, like, hey, let's do a yoga class, or let's try doing paddle or something else. And we're seeing more of this now, which I'll get to in a second. But then you can be the weird one in the group until someone else joins you. And then there's two weirdos and the third person. And now it's cool and everyone wants to get in. And we're seeing this shift, which is amazing, where like in New York, like clubs are closing down, like bars and clubs.
Really?
Yeah. Because people aren't, Gen Z is not drinking as much.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're not drinking as much. And then the wellness scene is just blowing up now. People are like, wait, well, why do we go clubbing? Right? Is it to drink alcohol and just forget all of our problems? For some people, yes, it is. But usually it's you want connection. You want to go out. You want to let loose. You want to have fun. Well, you can achieve that with a lot of different ways, right? You can go to a community class. You can paddle is a great way. It's competitive. It's fun, right? And so it really differs from the person. But a lot of these themes come up. This fear of rejection, the fear of I'm not enough came up a little bit. I don't know if you remember. You said that like I'm worried I might not be enough. So you want to prove to yourself that you're enough. Well, guess what? What if you could prove to yourself that you're enough by not going at it alone, by different other ways, by just realizing you already are enough the way you are? Yes, you can learn more skills. Yes, you can grow. Yes, you can improve. What if you came from the perspective, I already am enough? I don't need to prove anything. Then things start to open up for you. Right? And then you're more likely to actually go after it.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. Thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to ask one thing. A lot of people have been asking about productivity. But based on what you just said, I also think we're in a hyper productivity era in the world right now, where everyone is like, you know, proving ourselves through how much we can hustle, blah, blah, blah. But everyone who's been asking on Instagram about the questions they had for you, it was about how to be more productive, how to deal with procrastination. What are your top 3 productivity hacks? What's your answer to this? Take it as you like.
Sure. So let's look at procrastination. Procrastination is a fear response, right? sometimes I'll talk to clients, they'll be procrastinating on things that are so silly. They'll be like, I didn't send the invoice for how to get paid, right? They're procrastinating on that. Like, I'm going to do it. I just haven't done it yet, or I haven't sent the email. Usually we tend to procrastinate on like silly things, right? A lot of the times on the day-to-day stuff. And when that comes to that sort of stuff, it's like your brain would see, like if you go back in the day, right? Your brain would like hear a tiger in the distance, or get all alert, your body get alert, and you're gonna decide, are you gonna fight this tiger? Are you gonna just freeze, sort of play dead, or are you gonna run away, right? You have to make these three things. Your body starts pumping hormones out and you start getting ready for one of these things, right? Either the fight, the flight, or the fawning is basically just freezing up and playing the possum, if you will. Now, mostly there's no tigers where we live. For some people, maybe there is, but there's no tigers anymore. But what there is traffic. What there is your boss sending you an email. What there is your friend and telling you, oh, it's a birthday you have to go to, but you don't really want to go, or the wedding in some destination you want to travel, or it's the email, or it's the project you want to start. There's something we're procrastinating on, but our body's having that same sort of like response as if there was a tiger there. So you're either freezing up, which a lot of people do when it comes to procrastination, right? Or you're like trying to run away from it, do something else and be busy work, right? Which is not related to the thing that you need to do. And I always ask people, like, when you're in that sort of like state of being busy and stuff, you're avoiding doing the thing, but also when you're just like, I'll do it later, and you want to watch Netflix or Doom on your phone, right? And then what usually happens, you eventually do the thing, and then you go like, okay, that wasn't that hard, right? Oh, it wasn't that hard to send an email. But what are you resisting there? There's some sort of fear that's there, right? It's your nervous system maybe being overwhelmed. So when it comes to procrastination, managing your nervous system with various different tools, right? That's somatic tools.
Yeah.
That's one, but also figuring out what is the fear there, right? Is there a fear that if you start, like if you're procrastinating on a big idea you've had, or you're procrastinating on creating something, we have to look at why you're procrastinating.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's going to be different reasons. It could be a fear of failure. It could be a fear of success. It could be a fear of the unknown, right? There's usually some fear that's getting in the way, that's stopping you, and that's just playing out over time and compounds. So figuring out why you are procrastinating, what is the pain you're avoiding, right? It usually comes down to you're avoiding perceived pain. Like you typing that email is going to be painful. You have to think about your boss and all this. And if you mess up, you could get fired, right? That's painful. Imagine if you really sent that email and it could lead to you getting fired, right? God, that's so much stress.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine if this podcast was going to be seen by every single world leader, and you have that pressure to show up, and like everyone is going to decide if yoga is important or not based on one episode of your podcast. Can you imagine that pressure?
Yeah.
Oh my God, right? It's immense, yeah. And so we got to figure out what that is for us. Right? Because there's something that we're avoiding. There's some pain that we're avoiding. There's some story that's there when it comes to procrastination. So understanding that is key, because all of these hacks, if you will, like to-do lists, like keeping at 3 things or 5 things or 1 thing, or using different sort of softwares, or using different methods, like this, eat the frog, do the hardest thing in the morning. A lot of these tools can work. They're great tools, but you have to get down to the mindset behind it.
Right.
Also, there's something about like changing your state, right? Have you heard of it, like state changes? Okay, so let's say you, what is something maybe one of your friends is usually procrastinating on, but they really want to do, but they always end up procrastinating on it?
Start like doing their taxes.
Doing their taxes. Oh, that's a big one, and it's almost coming up, right? Okay, so let's just think about your taxes right now. Okay, think about for you, just think about your taxes, and people listening. Think about how you have to sit down, you have to find all of the different income streams. If you're an entrepreneur or a freelancer, you have multiple businesses, you have to find them all, put them into a file. Okay, you have to send that over then to your tax guy. You also then have to find all the different maybe invoices that you've sent. Maybe you've lost an invoice, and where are you going to find that? And then there's what about all the money you spent with cash? Can you even remember how much it was? And what about that trip you went on? Can you deduct it? Like, even though you like went on vacation, or can you, all of that? How are you feeling right now thinking about all that you need to do?
Yeah, I need to do it. That's a lot.
You need a lot, but how are you feeling right now in your body?
I do feel like I can do it.
Okay. How would your friend though? I know you, but we're talking for your friend who's doing the taxes.
It's like so overwhelmed that like, never mind, I'll just do that later.
Yeah, right? They're so overwhelmed, never mind how you do that, right?
Yeah.
So we'll use your friend as the example.
Yeah.
And this is what I would do with you, or if there's an example of something you're procrastinating on, and do it with you. But if you say like, or I have a client who's like, oh, I'm going to start the business, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, do you think you'll be successful? Yeah, like, I think I'll be successful. And I'm just like, stop. Like, what? Like, stop. Your body right now is telling me that you're going to fail and you're not even going to do it. Right? When you hear the friend being like, yeah, or this one, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to the gym. Yep. Is that friend going to go to the gym?
No.
Probably not, right? So we got to change your state. So first, we're going to start with your physiology. Now, I'd ask you maybe to stand up for this. But we're sitting. You can also do it sitting down. So there's two different ways. If you're really overwhelmed, then you might need to do some sort of slower breathing. So like box breathing is great. The double breath, or just simply breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth for a few cycles. But let's just say that you're just like, yeah, I need to do the taxes. Yeah, I need to send that email. I need that thing. Change your state.
Right.
Don't negotiate with yourself. This is where people fail. They start negotiating. I should do it. Why do I not do it? Why am I so lazy? Why can't I be like John or Sarah or Kavi, which they're so productive, but I never do it. You go in story mode, like poor me, and then you start playing the victim. You go in the victim mindset, right? Just don't try to like push yourself. No. We got to change our state. So this is how we do that. So first, if you're in that state and you're like very low like this, we want to change our posture. So let's go ahead and just put our shoulders back, sit up a little straighter. Okay, and if you're standing, this is great for standing as well. Just standing, rolling your shoulders back, and then we'll do good old Dastika, right? So we just do 10 rounds. Let's just try it right now. Yeah. We'll do it fast, okay? Yeah. So we go 10 rounds. For those who don't know, you're just gonna breathe in and out through your nose, in when you go up, and then out when you go down. I'm sure, obviously, you know this. Let's go just do 10 rounds really fast. Good, hands down. Feeling the breath. So we just first changed our body. We stood up, started for slouching. We put our shoulders back. Then we changed our breathing. So now we're probably feeling a little bit more energized. Heart rate got up a little bit. And now I want you to ask right now, what would you need to do? What do you want to do to create the life you want, to show up as the person you want? What's going to get you there? When it comes to the tax or the business, with the taxes, what is one small step you can do to move the direction? Because you have to do your taxes at some point. So Kavi, what is your friend, what is one small thing you can do? What's one small action?
Set a time today and have a timer of, okay, I'm just going to sit down and do this.
Great. What time?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Okay, you set a timer. What kind of timer? Your phone, a physical device? What kind of timer?
Yeah, on the phone, 25 minutes.
25 minutes. Okay. And for those 25 minutes, what is the task you're going to do?
Open up bank statements and download them and start to look at the income.
Okay. What did we just do there?
We just have clarity on the step.
Yeah. But first we change your state.
Yeah.
Because what most people do is they try to just go after the thing. I'm doing taxes. Oh, I can do this. Oh, they open their laptop. Oh, banks are, and they just get overwhelmed.
Yeah. So the issue is that they just go in with strategy versus like first into their body.
Exactly. They just go with strategy first, but they're physically not in a state to do that. Right? Sort of like if you're going to go to the gym, but you just got out of like, I don't know, like you haven't stretched yet, or like, you know, or you're trying to do yoga in like jeans and a suit and tie. Like maybe you can do it, but it's going to be really stiff. You'll probably rip it. So we got to change our state. And you can use this for anything, literally anything. When you're feeling too down, or if you're feeling too wired too, then you would do the other breath, the box breathing or something else. But the key is that you change your body, you change your breath, and then you change your focus, right? You have to change your focus, right? Because where your focus go, energy is going to go, right? So if you're focused on all the reasons why it's going to be, can you give me 5 reasons why your podcast won't be successful? 2 reasons why your podcast won't, hypothetically. Yours or anyone's podcast, why wouldn't they be successful? Give me 2 reasons.
People find it boring.
People find it boring.
And unhelpful.
What else?
It's too long.
It's too long. What else?
There's other good podcasts.
There's other good podcasts out there, okay? Yeah. How do you feel right now just hearing all that?
I don't think it's true.
You don't think it's true, right? But if we actually went through things that you actually did feel were true, you would start believing them.
Yeah.
Right? If you started thinking every day, why is this podcast not getting more likes, or why is this not this? You'll start believing these stories, right? And that's going to put you in what? A negative state, right? So put you feeling your shoulders down, not feeling great.
Right.
But if you ask yourself, how can I get more views? How can I make this podcast more engaging? How can I help people out? Well, then it's going to change the way you're thinking about and your focus, right? There's part of our brain that's called the RAS system. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Oh, it's fascinating. So have you ever bought something before? let's say like a purse, a shoes, a yoga mat, it doesn't matter, anything, a car.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, this red car is so cool. Or these shoes, these Nikes are awesome. They're so original. And then you start seeing them everywhere. You start seeing everyone has that red bag or that red car. And you're like, oh my God. Or there's a new coffee shop. And all of a sudden everyone is carrying the mugs around. Has this ever happened to you?
Yeah.
So there's part of it's not that you bought it and you're a trendsetter. I mean, maybe you are. But it's that's not what's going on here. What happens is there's part of our brains called the reticular activating system. Okay. And it basically spots patterns. So when you start looking for something, you start seeing it everywhere. Right. And this is true when it comes to negativity. Another example right now. Close your eyes. Open your eyes. Look for everything around you that is black. Okay, just name it. Name it fast. Name some things.
Plant pots, books, shelf, camera lens, mic, your top.
Good. Close your eyes. Now name every single thing that's blue. Don't look.
Okay, blue.
A little bit harder, right?
Yeah.
You've been in this podcast studio for weeks, so you might know a few things. But it's a little bit harder, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because you were focusing on the black stuff. Well, this is an analogy, right? A metaphor, if you will, for negativity and positivity in your life.
Right.
So when you're looking for negative things, you will find it.
Yeah.
Because you're searching for it. Your RES gets activated. You're looking for it. It's pattern recognition. But when you also look for the positive things, you're going to start finding that as well. So you have to realize that you do have power over this, right? You do have agency. You can choose your focus. But it can be hard to choose your focus if the other two things are if your breathing is out of sync, if your body's out of sync. And that's something you can do in literally 90 seconds. It doesn't have to be a whole hour long of like breath work and stretching. It can be 90 seconds. What do I need to do right now to create the life I want? Or to be the person I want? Okay, when it comes to taxes, I need to first figure out, collect all my bank statements. Which bank will I start with? Bank of America. When will I do that? Today. When today? And you got to be specific. Where a lot of people will fail is they're not specific. So really getting clear on, for you, changing your state, but then looking at the strategy, but you need to look at your blind spots as well and why you're not doing it. It's rarely a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
You've probably read Atomic Habits, right?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's read Atomic Habits. When I do workshops, I did a bunch of workshops in New York, and I always start my workshops off with like, who here's read Atomic Habits? And I was like, oh yeah, I love that book. And I go, who's here life has changed? Why is that?
Yeah.
Is it that the book itself isn't good? No, the book is amazing, right? It's just information does not equal transformation.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And that's so key.
Brian, thank you so much for everything you've shared. I wish that we could also have another conversation. It's been extremely valuable and also eye-opening for me. I feel like I need to just go sit with myself and reflect on what we've discussed. And I really think it's helped a lot of people as well. If you guys have any questions for Brian, they can contact you via Instagram, or where is the best place?
Carrier pigeon?
Okay.
No, I'm just joking.
I don't know. I was like, what's this website, this American website? And then I just heard it. No.
Instagram would be best.
Okay.
If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll work with clients one-to-one. If you're interested in what that can look like, shoot me a message and we can schedule a free consultation just to see if my style of coaching is what you need right now and how it can help you. A lot of coaching is you're here, you want to get here. What is that gap to get you there? And that's what we figure out in there. So you can shoot me over a message or go to my website, briannathansiegal.com, and contact me through that.
Amazing. You guys definitely should. Being in the room with him, and I'm sure also online, you've felt that. But I didn't expect today's podcast to be so transformative. So let us know what you've learned in today's episode. Maybe take a moment to just pause, close your eyes, sit with yourself. What have you learned from listening, watching today's episode? And how can you integrate it into your life? And otherwise, I want to say thank you so much, Brian, for coming on to the podcast. It's really been a pleasure. And guys, if you guys want to learn yoga or anything else, you can also send me a DM on Instagram. And otherwise, I'm going to see you next week on the House of Yoga. Thank you and namaste.